You're watching Inside Automotive with Jim Fitzpatrick.
Hey everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick. Thanks so much for tuning in this morning to CBT News. We're all keeping our eye on what's happening with the new auto tariffs. Today we're talking to Peter Cooper. You've seen him here before on CBT News. He's the president and CEO of Lexus of Lehigh Valley out of PA. You're talking to him to hear his thoughts on the potential impact and what it could mean for his business. And so thank you so much, Peter, for joining us once again here at CBT News. And you always tell it like it is, so we wanted to talk to you about this. And first and foremost, how is your business doing? Everyone came off of a great March. Has that carried through to April?
We found for us specifically, we have a little bit of a decline. It's inventory based, perhaps. We switched website providers. The transition didn't go so well. We had some leads fall off for a few days. They're doing some construction on the road right at our driveway. Okay. So we can't put our finger on it. Okay. Would I say that there's concern in the population as to where do we go from here and what do these volatilities look like? We'd be foolish to say that's not out there. I just don't know what right. Grade of a magnitude it is.
Sure. Some of the dealers I've spoken to said that they did feel as though that the business that they saw in March was to race that April 2nd or April 3rd deadline that the president put on for tariffs, and it was the perception of the consumers that I better get in before the tariffs go on, not really understanding the fact that we all are sitting with a 2-month supply of vehicles and those tariffs wouldn't have been affected anyway. But nevertheless, it did spur those consumers to come in, and that's kind of winding down now in other parts of the country.
Well, look, there's a couple things that you touched on there. The number one way to sell something in America, just tell people they can't have it.
That's right.
So it doesn't matter. It's not cars. It's anything.
That's right. That's right. We saw that in COVID too.
Oh, yeah, everywhere. So I think and by the way, what it said in our space is our behavior became more abhorrent to the public. Yeah. Everybody's going to make as much money as they can, take advantage of it. Like we're going to go out of business in 90 days. So it wasn't a pretty time, and I think how we perceive it isn't always how the consumer perceives it. I think there was a lot of pull ahead business. Yeah, people in the marketplace maybe this summer. Sure. But I think we're not even close to settling into what the norm is going to be here.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. What is your opinion of this whole situation on tariffs and what the president is attempting or trying to do with tariffs? We've heard now a number of different strategies as it relates to tariffs that the president's put on. But I'd like to get your take on it. Where do you lie in all of this?
I think we're solving for the wrong problems.
Okay.
And I think Americans and human beings are great at solving problems. Mm-hmm. Car dealers are better than most at solving for problems. I just think we're solving for the wrong problem. What do I mean by that? Mm-hmm. We have right now what's going on is everybody has this fear of the president. And I don't want them to say this president, of the president. And it's a very well-founded fear. In all of our business, the biggest fear that we should be thinking about is government intervention. Mm-hmm. How does government get into my business that I can't see it coming and I can't prepare for it? So if you look at where our whole economy is, where our space is, right now, people are reluctant to say, I want to invest in the United States. Right. Because they can spend billions of dollars, and with the stroke of a pen, an executive order, it's all gone.
Right.
We're focusing on the wrong thing. So we won't get anything different in the next administration, whatever it's going to be. They're going to be forced to be autocratic. Yeah. Because I believe Congress isn't functioning. So I think we're more susceptible to these things unless we address the root problem. Yeah. That being said, let's talk about the tariffs, right? I think, again, just watching human behavior, it's what we've tried to pride ourselves on in our business, understanding what people want. We are now in a situation where we have a leader in this country who every single day since he's come into office, he's going to make a different headline, okay? I mean, there's going to be a different headline. And it's going to be outrageous, it's going to be outlandish, but there's not a day that goes by. And if you look at all the things that come up, 2-3 days, they go away, they become rich.
That's because we're trying to keep up with the newest headlines.
Right. So when it hits our industry, it's like, wow, what are we going to do here? This is overwhelming. And I just think, let's just take a pause. We're addicted to cheap labor.
Yeah.
We do need to bring jobs back to this country. The jobs that left this country will never be the jobs that we're going to get back.
Right.
And this is this person's personality. He wrote a book, I think, a few years ago, The Art of the Deal.
Art of the Deal. Yeah.
Yeah. He wants to make deals everywhere. He wants to be seen as the big deal maker. So just know that's going to go on.
Yeah.
And I think, you've had great guests on your show who pontificate. Oh, I know something. Jim, I know what's going to go on. And the administration doesn't know what's going to go on. And and you laugh about it. The day that they announced the tariffs, nobody. I mean, I've got unbelievable partners at Toyota.
Yeah.
There was not one indication as to how or what this is going to be applied.
Right.
So to say somebody knows something, I just don't. I don't put a lot of.
Right.
I don't put a lot of credence in.
So a number of your fellow dealers that I've spoken to across the country have said, look, I support the president. We got to give him, quote unquote, enough leash. We got to give him enough runway. We got to let him do what he does because, to your point, he did write the book on negotiations, and he knows what he's doing. He's got a grander plan that maybe we don't even know about to bring these other countries in. We're going to try to fight fentanyl. We're going to try to curb the situation on the southern border, and all of these things are in that same pot. And he knows what he's doing. Is there any? Do you feel that way?
No, I don't see it that way. I mean,
Okay.
I don't see it that way. I mean, I believe when he does it, he has a thought. And again, this is just understanding the character, and not even the character, but the behavior of the individual.
Yeah.
People are more frenzied because there isn't clarity as to what we're going to do.
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned fentanyl, okay, which. When was the last time that was in the news? This is related to tariffs.
Right.
It's gone. It's forgotten about. So I think we just have to stay focused on what he's talking about today. It's outrageous. It's outlandish.
Yeah.
It's going to go away. Are there going to be tariffs? Probably. But we also remember one thing. There have been tariffs before this guy came into office that are there. And every year, every month, every foreign government is negotiating with us to get a better deal. So it's not new here.
Yeah. Are you running your business any differently today because of the threat of these tariffs, or because of the tariffs happening? I mean, you're a Lexus dealer.
For me, I'd be foolish, Jim. I'd be foolish if I did, because I don't know what they're going to be or what they mean.
Right.
So to try and adjust and play with our consumers and, more important, my employees' lives, it's not reasonable.
Right.
It's not a sound decision.
Right. Are you overall in support of what Trump is doing currently?
Again, if I had a greater clarity of vision, I think there's a lot of things that the policies may be good. The articulation is just horrible. They come out as vengeance, as revenge. I'm going to show you how big I am versus how do we get along, how to work. So the style and all of it, I don't get.
Right.
But what I will say is, he was forced to do so many things because things got so far out of hand for so long. So I applaud him for having the courage to try and do different then.
Right.
Okay, I don't applaud him for how he's going about it. That's all I can say.
Gotcha. Bernie Moreno, as you know, Senator Bernie Moreno, when I interviewed him, and also when he spoke at the Auto Forum that was sponsored by J.D. Power and NADA and the New York Auto Show, when he presented at that conference, he said that this is, and I'm paraphrasing, this is a blip on the radar, and we're not even going to be talking about it in this industry in a year. Do you
I think he's spot on. I think it's less than that. But I think, again, we're living in 24-hour news cycles.
Right.
So we've just become so off balance as to who we are and what we do, and a lack of faith in it. And I got to be the brightest and smartest. I got to know before Jim Fitzpatrick knows, so I can call him up. Observing behavior.
You can't believe how many dealers have actually texted me or called me or emailed me with their perception and their insight on what's going on. And it seems as though every dealer or every manufacturer seems to have some kind of a line to the White House. They don't really, but they think they do. Therefore, this is what we're predicting. And you're like, well, where did that come from? And at the end of the day, I think it's just their own predictions based on the same news cycle that we see.
Well, not only that, I think everybody's fearful. So if I can start to make sense of this, I can calm my fears. But the truth is, we can't make sense of things that we don't know anything about.
Right.
And again, I think the world of Bernie. Okay, he went from a great car dealer to he's going to be an unbelievable politician.
Sure.
It's not the same skill set.
That's right.
By the way, the only thing I'd say about Bernie is I'd love to do what he's doing because he's going to do really well. He's going to make a lot of money doing it.
Yeah.
And I admire that.
Yeah. No, there's no question. He's out there. He tells it like it is, and it's. I think at the end of the day, it's great to have. I say one of us. I know I report on the news now and report on the auto industry, but I still feel like I'm in the car business. But it's great to have one of us at the table, in the Senate, and if anything, have the president's ear on these very important issues that dealers are faced with. Now, I don't know that he does, but I'm hoping he does at some level.
Hope's not a good strategy. It's a lousy name for a woman, right? So
that's right.
But as we've talked many times previously, what we focus on here is behaviors, consumer behaviors.
Right.
We just have to focus on the behavior of our nation. We have to focus on the behavior of this administration and just come to understand it. I have no insights.
Yeah.
I have insights as to watch from 30,000 feet what the behavior is.
Yeah.
That's where I get calm. That's where I get understanding. It's not in the minutia that's a headline today or tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I think that's where I would say to all of the dealers, look, this is a great opportunity. Just know who your partners are in the manufacturers, right? Know that you still have the greatest government in the world, and they are a threat to our business.
Yeah.
So how do we work on preventing this from the future? Nobody's going to say, Trump, right or wrong, we're shutting you down now. We got to stop how these cycles are going. Yeah. We got to get back to this decency. We got back to civility. How are we going to do this? And it's not by saying this guy's wrong and he's this or that, or this person's right, and the divides. We're not going anywhere.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Switching gears a little bit, are you hearing from customers on the showroom floor and in the service lane about tariffs? Is that what's happening in the conversations that your people are having with your current customer base, whether it be in the customer lounge or in the service or in the showroom? Are they coming in going, okay, talk to me about these tariffs, and is this car going to cost me more?
Again, I think in terms of an inquiry, I mean, a lot of what we do is, we sell future production.
Right.
So we're selling into our pipeline cars that are being built for us. And people want to know, am I going to be subject to that?
Right.
On that vehicle.
Yeah.
That's the only place that we see it. The question, I think, is a little bit different because so much of our business is lead generated.
Yeah.
Those questions people are looking for the answers before I think they even go into looking at a vehicle.
Yeah. And by the way, the answer to the question that the customer asked you is yes, right? That you would be subject to that increase, assuming it goes through. Are they okay with that? Or obviously, a Lexus buyer is not a Nissan buyer. So
So first of all, that's a really important point. And people say, "Oh, it's easy, guy. He's a Lexus dealer." So what's the decency, right? What's the decency here?
Yeah.
So everything that I see right now is not subject to those tariffs. They're still negotiating those tariffs.
Okay.
They'll be here before something goes into place.
Right. And what percentage of Lexus automobiles are assembled or built in the U.S.?
A very small percentage.
Okay.
It's Canada and it's Japan.
Yeah. So they'd all, for the most part, they'd be subjected to the tariff.
Subjected to maybe a tariff, not the tariff, right?
Good point. Good point.
And by the way, so that's where everybody goes. Like, oh, no, it's maybe. By the way, they're subject to tariffs now at some level. I don't know what it is.
Right.
So it's a talking point. So why would I would just, we've said to customer, look, we locked this vehicle in. We've had no increases in pricing from Toyota. This is what we agreed to. Yeah. That's it. We're going to deliver it. We're going to deliver it at that number.
Oh, you are. You're telling them that you're living up to the number you negotiated.
Because I can't see production beyond 45 days.
Okay.
So
right.
we're still negotiating things here.
Yeah.
And if anybody says, "Oh, I know this is how it's going to be applied," I mean, I talk to everybody. top to bottom up from Toyota. Nobody has any insight to this. Why is this important? If you go back and Trump said, we're going to pause 90 days here on certain things.
Right.
And people say, oh, well, that was great. That was decency. There was no vision or insight from the administration. This is what we're specifically going to tariff. This is how we're going to apply the tariff. This is how we're going to account for the tariff. None of those mechanisms were even in place.
Right.
Which, by the way, I believe they're probably working on today if they can't negotiate. But they had nothing when they announced these tariffs.
I know.
Nothing.
Right.
But people know? No, they don't know.
No, they don't know.
So let's again, and we're living in a world that everything's irrational fears based upon, we're fear driven.
That's right. Peter Cooper, President and CEO, Lexus of Lehigh Valley, with all the answers, but not necessarily all the answers.
No, I have
There's
answers.
more questions than answers.
I just, it's your point. It's my perspective. It can be right. It can be wrong. We have to reframe things differently.
I think it's very close to the situation, though. You're exactly right. And we don't know the answers. We don't know any of this stuff. And I agree with you that we come across people that go, no, I know. Yeah, you don't know because they don't know,
And it's not our industry. You can pick any topic. Yeah. There's authorities that really aren't as well versed as they represent themselves.
Right.
So I appreciate, again, Jim, all the work you do consistently and regularly in our industry, trying to give guys, a full spectrum of things. I wish I had the time to listen to every one of your podcast, your news.
I wish you did too.
But again, I think there's a lot of relevance here.
Yeah.
I think you're doing a great job. I think convening, people in New York, it's just beautiful. And I appreciate you and your family and everything you're doing.
Well, thank you very much. And I appreciate you and people like you in the industry that are willing to come on and tell it like it is and share their feelings about this situation. There's, for every dealer that comes on, there's another 1,000 behind them that goes, yeah, he nailed it. Whichever side of the coin you're on this topic.
By the way, I hope you're getting 1,000 viewers per episode.
Yes, we do.
I want you to have 2,000.
No. Our views are way up because of this situation. Every dealer, as you know, and every automotive executive, every manager is tuning in and they're tuning into podcasts, they're tuning into CBT, they're getting any news they can on this to see who knows what's the viewpoint of others in the industry. And
it's irrational fears.
Yeah.
And nobody knows anything. It's just,
that's right.
But I believe in this country. I believe in car dealers. I believe in our industry. We're going to be fine. We're going to be fine.
I agree.
Thank
you so much, sir, for coming in. I really appreciate it.
Take care.
All right. Take care.
Thanks for watching Inside Automotive with Jim Fitzpatrick.